Hey YouTube, Untamed here. Dealerships nowadays are getting creative. They're getting very creative and sneaky with their scams. Ways in which they can rake you over the coals and charge you more money for your vehicle purchase, all oftentimes without you even being fully aware of it. In today's video, I'm going to highlight 10 new dealership scams that you need to be aware of. So for starters, good, honest dealers, they still exist. They're just becoming harder and harder to come by, let's face it. It's because most dealerships today are chasing one thing. That's money. They've allowed greed to get the best of them. Let's just call it what it is. They're chasing the higher sales volume every single month, the higher profit margins. That is what they're chasing. And unfortunately, the success of a dealership is often defined by the number of sales, right? The money that they're bringing into the dealership. It is rarely defined by their integrity, their honesty, their reputation amongst their customers, and the good that they're doing for their communities. And that's the unfortunate truth. And just look at the turnover and retention rate of car salesmen. They're generally only at a dealership for maybe 2, maybe 3 years tops before changing their line of work or going to a different dealership. So they're not so concerned about showing up and trying to do what's best for you, the consumer, because they know that they're not going to be there long enough to worry about you being a returning customer for them. They only want to maximize how much profit that they can squeeze out of that particular deal with you, and that's the truth of it. Most salesmen were not paid by commission for the most part. I think we would see a positive shift toward actually wanting to do what's best for the consumer, and we'd get a lot less pushy salesmen, and I think a lot of the adverse and negative stigma surrounding salesmen would actually begin to disappear over time if they were just salary or hourly paid, right? And not so much incentivized for every sale that they get. Sure, you can make the argument of, well, that would just make for lazy sales staff, perhaps, right? But at least you wouldn't feel pushed and pressured every time you go into that dealership. And that'd be nice for us, the consumer. For that, what are the dealership scams that you need to be looking out for? Number one is, of course, dealership markups. This is starting to fade away. Obviously, during the pandemic, when supply was low and demand was high, a lot of dealerships were taking advantage of you and I, the consumer. They were charging markups over MSRP. If you've been following my channel for any length of time, you know that I've talked about this plenty, and this was just a huge problem that was plaguing the entire automotive industry, especially within the United States. They were charging over MSRP. As if times weren't tough for everybody, they had to take it out on you. And I thought that was pretty sickening. And they were getting away with it. And banks were issuing these loans on these inflated sale prices, which again is sickening to say out loud. So that one there wasn't a surprise for many of you, I understand. But this second one has become much more prevalent in recent years. We are now seeing dealerships overcharge for the parts, pieces, and components that they're putting on your vehicles during repair. And on top of that, not only are they overcharging beyond MSRP on the parts, pieces, and components, they are deviating from using OEM products. And 9 times out of 10, when you go to a dealership, that's your expectation. You expect them to put OEM, original manufacturer equipment and parts on your vehicle as you perform that work. That's half the reason why you go to a dealership, right? You expect to have quality products because you're spending a premium to go through the dealership. But nowadays, we're seeing a lot of dealerships actually deviate from that. Now they're going through other companies and not using OEM specific pieces and components. So be sure to ask. Get it very clearly said and in writing, saying, hey, what parts were actually used on my vehicle today? What did you use to repair my vehicle? Same goes with fluids, right? Although most manufacturers don't have their own fluids, they do have their specific recommended fluids that they should be using, their dealerships should be using within their vehicles. But now we're seeing dealerships just deviate from that and go into cheaper options, all while charging you a premium price. Moving on to number 3. You remember the good old days when you could say cash is king? That's unfortunately no longer the case, especially when buying a vehicle from a dealership. Dealers will get a kickback from a lending institution that they go through when they acquire and secure your loan. So when you go through the dealership, you're actually incentivizing them more to give you a lesser price tag, sale price of the vehicle, because they're going to get a kickback from that lender. It's never a huge amount, generally between $500 up to maybe $1,500 tops, depending on the size of the loan and the interest rate that you get secured at. So those are pieces of the equation. But the scam that you really need to be on the lookout for is a lot of dealerships are upping the interest rates on your loan, all for the sake of getting a higher kickback from the lender. And what I mean by that is when they fish out your information to all these different lenders, all these different banks, they'll give them all your information, your income, your social security card, or social security information, everything to get your credit pulled, blah, blah, blah. They are going to come back with a approved rate. The bank will. They'll say, hey, we approved this gentleman here or this lady here at a 5% interest rate on their brand new Toyota 4Runner. But that dealership can then take that 5% rate and add on maybe 1% to it, maybe 1.5%, bringing it up to 6% or a 6.5% loan, upping that loan approval rate. So that there will get them a better kickback. And well, it's just a sleazy thing to do. The bank already approved you at a certain rate. That's the buy rate for the loan, but then the dealership is just taking it upon themselves to hike it up a little bit to line their pockets a little bit more at your expense. So I always encourage folks, ask the dealership, ask the finance officer or the finance rep there, ask them what the buy rate is for my loan. What is my buy rate? Ask them that, and hopefully, at least if they're an honest, transparent dealer, they'll provide that to you, and you need to be at that buy rate. Moving to my number 4. This one here, I might get a little bit of pushback from you guys. I know there's a lot of differing opinions here, but in my opinion, I feel as though it has become a dealership scam to encourage and push their customers to change their oil in their vehicles every 10,000 miles. That's become the new norm from so many dealers. In my opinion, that is a scam, because it's allowing more sludge buildup to take place within your engine. If you're letting it go for that long, I don't care what anybody says, you're allowing more sludge buildup within your engine when you do that. Why not just buck up every so often, a little bit more frequently, maybe every 5,000 miles, as we used to do, just to keep fresher oil in your engine. This is the second largest purchase that you'll ever make in your life, second to only your house. Why not take care of it? You know, it's only about $100 roughly on average, $100, $120 nowadays for a full synthetic oil change. Why not spend that just a little bit more frequently if it gives you that added peace of mind? So to me, the 10,000 miles, it feels like a scam because it's only going to give you a little bit more heartache down the road. There's the likelihood of you needing a serious repair, I think, goes up substantially when you're changing your oil less frequently. You tell me. I don't know about you guys, but personally, I would much rather spend $100 for another oil change here and there a little bit more frequently if it means saving thousands of dollars on a potential serious repair needed. Moving to number 5, new age dealership scam, and that is the inclusion and sneaking in of bogus protection plans. This has become such a huge problem. It's running rampant amongst dealerships, in my opinion, where they try to sneak in these protection plans that are just hugely inflated in price. In addition to the protection plans, you see them trying to do that with their extended warranties, where they're trying to massively overcharge for these extended warranties. Oftentimes they're through a third party, not even through the vehicle manufacturer. So they're outsourcing to a cheaper third party, which they are more difficult to actually have them satisfy these protection plans and services. If you actually need them, they're a bigger headache. So keep that in mind. But I'm talking examples like windshield chip repair, windshield replacement plans, door dent, door ding protection, ceramic coating, interior coating. They try to bulk them into these protection plans and then charge you a ton of money. I'm talking like $3,000 for the bulked packages here. Sometimes they'll even try to offer, and your first 5 oil changes free. They'll try to sneak that in there too. It's not really free if they're charging you an enormous amount for it. And they try to act as if it's a normal thing that they offer in all their vehicles. All their vehicles will come with it. Don't let them normalize that, and do not pay into that bogus. I think the last example I've seen of that was called a preferred smart care and protection plan, where it did cost just under $3,000 for it. It did include 5 oil changes and exterior ceramic coating, interior coating, whatever the heck that was. And I think there was one other small thing. It might have been windshield chip repair for it, but $3,000. They try to get you to buy into it because the changes to your monthly payment are minimal. They're very minimal. We're talking probably $7 to $10 additional per monthly payment. So you're like, oh yeah, I'll buy into that. And well, you just bought a $3,000 piece of crap package from them. If you do like having the added peace of mind of these protection plans and these extended warranties, I don't blame you. On some vehicles, it actually kind of makes sense. You know, European makes, BMWs, Mercedes, it kind of makes sense to have them because it is nice peace of mind. But I want you to know, if you do insist on buying one, just know that they are hugely inflated in price, and you can certainly negotiate them down substantially. So if you take anything from this video, just know that you can talk them into dropping that price tag down maybe 60, 70, 80% less than what they're originally trying to charge you. Negotiate it. Moving to number 6 on my list, that is certified used vehicles, the whole certified thing. Just because they added a little bit longer of an inspection to the vehicle when they brought it in on trade, and they might be giving you a little bit longer of an extended warranty on it, they then call it certified, and then they hike up the price tag substantially. You're paying for it. You're paying for it substantially, and it's just a gimmick, in my opinion. Calling these vehicles certified used just because they did a little bit more of an inspection to it, maybe actually changed the oil to it, and gave you an extended warranty, it does not warrant the huge uptick in the price tag. So to me, that feels like a dealership scam that has become much more prevalent in today's day and age. Moving to number 7 on my list, we are now seeing so many dealerships try to scam you into buying a vehicle based on the monthly payment. I hate seeing this because it allows them to blind you and kind of cover your eyes to the actual sale price of the vehicle. Like, hey, what do you want your monthly payment to be? What are you able to pay every single month? And then they try their best to get you to agree to a figure per month and then extend the loan out as long as they possibly can, of course, then still sneak in those bogus protection plans, the extended warranties, all these additional needless things to hike up that final sale price. So when you go buy a vehicle, don't tell them that you're trying to fish within a certain monthly payment. You want to focus on the actual final sale price of the vehicle. What is that out the door price tag with taxes included, their dock fees included? What is that final sale price? And well, naturally, that monthly payment should come down substantially if you negotiate a price tag that you're interested in. Moving to number 8 on my list, this is perhaps the ugliest scam that we see from so many dealerships today, and that is dock fees. Documentation fees have gotten completely sickening of how much they want for them. Documentation fees. So many times you'll go to a dealership and they'll be wanting $800 for a doc fee or even more. Some of you guys have come up on mic in the comment section and told me that you've seen up to $1,500 being the doc fee. A documentation fee. Well, what is that really? That is the fee that which they're paying their reps there to handle all the paperwork for your vehicle. The title clerk, issuing it through your DMV, doing all that processing of the registration for you. It certainly is not worth $800, maybe $150, because it might take an hour and a half to actually process it all. Every single deal that I negotiate, I have them get rid of that doc fee. And even if the dealership says, no, we have to have a doc fee, every single transaction we have must have this documentation fee on it. Cool, we'll drop the price of the vehicle the same amount to nullify that fee. So if you're paying $41,000 for your Toyota 4Runner, have them drop it down to $40,000 and they can still keep their $1,000 doc fee on the books if that makes them feel better. I always have them get rid of it because it is bogus. Moving to number 9 on my list, I think a lot of us understand that dealerships can't legally sell you a vehicle with a salvage or rebuilt title. You know, it's a problem for safety predominantly, right? They're harder to get insurance on, and if you do get insurance on the salvage or rebuilt title vehicle, you're going to be paying a much higher premium for it, unfortunately, right? Because the rigidity and safety of that original vehicle is no longer there, and that's the reason for it. But number 9 on my list is I'm seeing so many more dealerships selling vehicles with bad Carfax histories on them now. I'm talking with minor to moderate accidents on the report, multiple accidents on these vehicles' histories. I'm seeing a lot more of that. You guys tell me if you've seen a lot more of it too. I'd be curious to hear that from you. But that's a problem for me because they're still wanting to charge you market value for these vehicles with accidents on them. And at surface value, you might go look at a vehicle and be like, okay, it doesn't look too bad. It looks all right. I'm sure it was in a front end and rear end, minor collisions, blah, blah, blah. Accidents happen, but they shouldn't be charging you market value. They shouldn't be expecting a huge premium for the vehicle, but that's what I'm seeing. You tell me what you're seeing. The problem with me is, the rub for me is, if that were my vehicle that I was trying to trade into that dealership or try to sell to that dealership, oh, by golly, all of a sudden those 2 minor accidents were going to be catastrophic. I bet they're going to be catastrophic, and there's no way they can give you anywhere near market value for that vehicle. It's funny how the tables turn when it's on your side of the court, right? If you're trying to trade in that vehicle, suddenly it's the biggest problem in the world. But when they're selling it to you, oh, it's no issue. That's the sickening part for me. Brings me to number 10 on my list. This item here has become much more prevalent with the fact that so many new vehicles are just sitting on dealership lots unsold. Dealers are having a hard time selling their new vehicle inventory given their astronomical price tags with them, right? And because of that, they're having to try to get a lot more used vehicles on their lot. So this scam here is definitely sneaky. We saw a lot of it during the pandemic. It's where a dealership will quote unquote sell one of their new vehicles to one of their sales staff or just one of their employees at the dealership, let them drive it around for 500 miles, maybe 1,000 miles, and then buy it back from that rep for pretty much what they just sold it to them for, bring it back to the dealership, and then sell it as a used model. Well, what's the benefit of doing this? Well, there's a couple, especially during the pandemic. Oftentimes, a lightly used vehicle would be worth more than what it was brand new. Used vehicles were coming at a premium because supply was low, especially on desirable vehicles like a Ford Raptor, Ram TRX, TRD Pro models. A lot of dealerships would do this. And then instead of selling the new vehicle with a markup on it, which was an ugly look, not a lot of dealerships wanted to do that, but they still did it, fell victim to greed. They were then able to sell as a used model, allowing it to be market value. So it was their workaround, their little loophole to still maximize the amount that they sold their new vehicle inventory for, but technically used at that point. So nowadays, they're doing it with a few vehicles, like the Ford F-150 Raptor R, they'll do that with. So they're not hitting you with a $20,000 markup new. They'll sell it, let it have 500 miles on it, sell it used for now a $20,000 market adjustment. So we're seeing a whole lot of that. On top of that, more prevalent now, dealerships are deploying that tactic because when they sell a used vehicle, it now enters the used vehicle interest rates with banks and lenders, right? So when there's a higher interest rate applied to a vehicle, when they sell it, they get a little bit higher of a kickback from that lending institution. So there's the benefit there. They could technically sell a used vehicle, lightly used vehicle, for just slightly less than its original new price, MSRP, but still make out about the same after that kickback. Hope that makes sense. As I'll wrap up the video there, let me know what I missed. Let me know if you've bumped into a different scam from a dealership when you went to go try to buy a vehicle. Unfortunately, many of these dealerships have earned the negative reputations that they have. You know, this greasy, slimy sales tactics that we've seen deployed by so many dealerships over the years, unfortunately, that's going to plague them for life, really until we see a drastic change of behavior. And I think a big part of that is deviating and getting away from commission-based sales. If you could do that, it becomes a lot less pushy, and you just feel like it's just more of an environment you can breathe in when you go into a dealership. Most people would truly rather go to the dentist than try to negotiate a price on a vehicle, and that's pretty pathetic. So let me know what I missed. As always, I sincerely appreciate you taking the time to tune into these videos. If you appreciate this type of content whatsoever, I do respectfully request that you please consider liking and subscribing. Your support means a ton, and I promise it doesn't go unnoticed. Until next time.